I love Spider-Man Homecoming. I know that's a weird way to start a video, but I have to say it because I know people will just click off this video just because of the title and be like, yeah, this guy's an MCU hater. Spider-Man does whatever. How's it going, Chat Nation? Welcome back to Browntable, the one place where we talk about everything except for brown tables. I've got that quarantine hair. I've decided to not cut it, let it rest on my head like a dead animal. You know, nobody's gonna see me, so I'll just fucking go crazy. So I woke up this morning and I was feeling pretty adventurous, you know, and I was like, okay, today I want to commit social suicide and talk about what I believe are the problems that are present in the film Spider-Man Far From Home. You don't have to believe what I believe. I'm not forcing you to do that. Also, I don't want to talk about how Spider-Man is butchered as a character in this film. You know, I'll be mostly talking about Spider-Man Far From Home's problems as a movie, as a story. I'll let Alex from HiTop Films talk about the film's problems as a Spider-Man narrative. So, before we get started, let's talk about today's sponsor, Skillshare.
Are you bored at home? Why don't you spend your time wisely and learn something new? Skillshare is here to help you with that. Skillshare is an online learning community for creatives like you and me. With most classes under 60 minutes, these short lessons can fit any schedule. Learn to make new recipes, learn to 3D model in Maya. There's countless workshops you could explore. Do you want to make films? There's literally nothing stopping you. Everyone owns a phone these days. Use it, baby. Check out this class, iPhone Filmmaking, Creating Cinematic Video with Your Phone by Caleb Babcock and Niles Gray, filmmakers at Moment. Lastly, Skillshare is adless, and it's less than $10 a month with an annual subscription. The first 1,000 of my subscribers, you Chads, to click the link in the description will get a 2-month free trial of premium membership so you can explore your creativity. That's right, 2 months, free, by clicking the link in the description.
So let me say 2 things before we begin. 1, I love Spider-Man Homecoming. Like, it's kind of weird how much I like it. Like, I sleep with the Blu-ray. I'm not sure that's normal, but whatever. I genuinely love Spider-Man Homecoming so much that at one point I made a video talking about how Spider-Man Homecoming is a better film than Spider-Man 2. I've now changed my opinion. I now believe Spider-Man 2 to be the better film. In that video, I didn't analyze enough, but there are still some good solid points in that video that I will be bringing up again in this one. 2. Not every Spider-Man movie needs to be Spider-Man 2. But Spider-Man 2 has realistic characters, a story that feels fantastical and intimate, it confronts the protagonist's principles, and it challenges the protagonist. Spider-Man Far From Home to me has average characters, an average story, and in general it feels very average. And of course I'm not just saying that to say that. This entire video is going to be me trying to back up my points, so don't worry about that. So let's not waste any more time. Let's talk about the fundamental flaws of Spider-Man Far From Home.
First things first, the biggest praise I gave Spider-Man Homecoming in my Spider-Man Homecoming video I talked about earlier is that Peter Parker in that film is an active protagonist. Say what you will about Spider-Man wanting to be an Avenger, let's forget comic book accuracy right now, let's look at the film's story and how it's being told. An active protagonist comes from the protagonist having a goal of some kind and acting upon said goal. Throughout the film, the protagonist's goal changes as they recognize that what they've been looking for isn't what they truly need to grow. Peter Parker in Homecoming wants to be an Avenger and goes from plot point to plot point on his own volition to prove himself to Tony Stark, which makes him an active character. As the film goes on though, his goal shifts to his need to stop the Vulture instead of wanting to win Stark's approval. By the end of the film, Peter learns what it means to be his own hero and not need anyone's approval. He becomes your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Hell yeah!
And in Far From Home, we get nothing.
Peter Parker in Far From Home is not really an active character, he's a passive one. The passive character is someone who is led by the plot of the story, who reacts to certain events or plot points, but doesn't actively influence the story through decisions or actions they take. This isn't to say that passive characters are inherently bad, but they are a lot more boring if the film doesn't utilize them correctly. Anyway, here's the mistake I made in my Homecoming video. I believed Peter Parker in Spider-Man 2 to be a passive character throughout. Peter wasn't as much of an active character as he could have been. But that's not really true. While he does start the film as a rather passive character, it's because of this passivity that he decides to finally become an active character.
I have a choice. Take my answer. No.
His Peter Parker side is passive, his Spider-Man side is active, so he flips that and makes his Spider-Man side passive and his Peter Parker side active. In Far From Home, Peter is forced to fight these elementals thanks to Nick Fury, an authority figure, and Peter reluctantly agrees and does whatever Fury tells him to do. When Peter finally discovers that Beck is an enemy, he decides to tell Fury. But this is still passive, as he's not only reacting to the story, but he takes the only logical choice available. A moment in the film where Peter's truly being an active character is when he gives Beck the glasses. Homecoming Spider-Man was an active character. For example, he shaped the plot, he actively pursued the Vulture. In this film, Peter is mostly only active towards MJ, and even that's not very well done either. MJ is a non-character who Peter has to win by the end of the film. This is all that Peter's active about, but getting the girl isn't the endgame of the film, and isn't really the main theme in any way, so this subplot isn't as compelling as the film thinks it is. MJ is there to propel the story forward, and not to propel Peter as a character forward in any way. Does he grow as a person because he wins MJ? No. He just gets a girlfriend, and that's a good thing for him, yay, but getting a girlfriend isn't the answer to his actual problems. To me, Peter wanting to get with MJ is more like an escape from his actual problems. So again, the MJ side plot doesn't really affect the story the movie's trying to tell. The film has characters push Peter into becoming the next Iron Man, and what Peter needs is for himself to realize that he doesn't have to be, that he just has to be himself. Peter's inner struggle is about living up to Tony Stark, and this romantic side plot doesn't have much to do with the story, so it kinda makes it unnecessary. Compare this to Iron Man, a film where the romance between Tony and Pepper is directly tied to the film's message: Tony Stark has a heart. His growth from being a womanizing, naive, and irresponsible man to becoming someone who lets people in, takes responsibility, and is a hero is directly tied to him falling in love with Pepper. Tony Stark has a heart. He's let someone in. Peter in Far From Home just gets MJ because it's what he wants to do, so duh, it happens. Peter in Spider-Man 2 becomes romantically involved with Mary Jane because it's directly tied to Mary Jane's character arc. Peter actually ended that film deciding to not be in Mary Jane's life. You see what I mean?
Then you think we should forgive them?
No more. There was something I thought I had to do. I don't have to. I'm not an empty seat anymore.
Peter wants Mary Jane, but Peter needs her to be safe, and these two beliefs conflict with one another, resulting in Peter choosing to let Mary Jane go.
I thought I could be there for you, Mary Jane, but I can't.
And then eventually Mary Jane decides that it's not up to Peter to decide what she wants, and ends up with Peter in the end. Going back to Homecoming, Peter is in love with Liz, and it's just one of those romantic side plots, but it actually is integral to the story, and Liz actually has relevance to the main antagonist of the story, thereby tying her in to the main plot of the film. A Superior channel called The Closer Look analyzed Far From Home as well, and he talks in depth about wants versus needs, so definitely check that video out, link in the description. So anyway, let's talk about the film's message, right? The film's trying to push onto the audience that Peter has to become the next Iron Man, and you'd imagine that Peter says no, he's Spider-Man, right? The film portrays Tony Stark as a pristine hero, a flawless dude. Even when Happy says, nah, don't be Tony, he's flawed, he contradicts himself by playing AC/DC when Peter makes his suit, insinuating that Peter should aspire to be Tony, and Peter's become the new Iron Man, not Spider-Man.
25%.
The film also presents Mysterio, someone who is wronged by Tony Stark, as just completely and utterly morally wrong. No one in the film, not even the protagonist, makes any effort to understand where the villain is coming from. The main issue comes from Edith, these glasses Tony Stark made, which controls a literal satellite which sends literal drones to the Earth. If you remember a little amazing film called Captain America the Winter Soldier, the protagonist in that film is Captain America, who is shown massive helicarriers with surveillance technology and massive guns by Nick Fury, touting that this is to protect people. This is now a popular line, but Captain America says,
"This isn't freedom. This is fear."
Nick Fury's literal one-eyed way of thinking is told to be wrong. Oversight is wrong, handled incorrectly it could jeopardize and kill millions. Meanwhile, we have Spider-Man Far From Home, which has Tony Stark give Peter Parker essentially the same thing, just a lot smaller. Drones this time, not helicarriers. What's the worst that can happen? In this little tangent, I want to further elaborate on the main issue I personally have with this film, while also talking about why this is the worst scene in not only all Spider-Man films, but probably most MCU films.
This is for you.
There's a character in this film called Brad. He's not a person, he's an obstacle to overcome. Again, an archetype. He's basically just written into the movie to spin faux drama. So Brad takes a picture of Peter undressing in front of a woman and then proceeds to go back to the bus. Brad wants to show MJ Peter's picture. Meanwhile, Peter uses Edith to try to erase the picture from Brad's phone. But then the dumbest coincidences happen in a row.
What are you doing?
Initiating strike.
Dope glasses, Parker. Look at the baby mountain goats! Baby mountain goats!
None of this is really happening naturally, by the way. It feels very coincidental, further adding to the passive nature of the film. But it also means that Tony Stark gave Peter Parker a satellite full of lethal drones to kill people with. Maybe he saw how Peter killed all those aliens in Endgame and he was like, yeah, that kid's ready. So it already pegs Tony Stark's thought process as similar to the one of Nick Fury in The Winter Soldier, which we discover in that film is the wrong thought process. So again, one of my main issues with Spider-Man Far From Home is that Tony Stark is put on a pedestal.
You don't understand how the world works.
Selling weapons to criminals is wrong.
How do you think your buddy Stark paid for that tower? Or any of his little toys?
When we not only have had the previous film to showcase the bad side of Tony Stark's legacy with the Vulture, but this film also shows that Tony Stark has created yet another villain, and he's given a teenager drones.
The rich and the powerful, they do whatever they want. Guys like us, you and me, they don't care about us.
The most effective way for this film to have propelled Peter into becoming Spider-Man and not Iron Man 2.0 is to show how much better Spider-Man is than Iron Man. I think the biggest reason why people call Spider-Man Iron Boy Jr. is because Peter is always vying for Stark's approval, even in death. Peter should face Tony Stark's legacy head-on, the good and the bad, and confront the main issue with the film's antagonist, which is his treatment by Tony Stark. Because here's the thing, while Vulture is in the wrong in Homecoming, he has a major point.
We have to pick up after him. That's how it is.
Why are you telling me this?
Because I want you to understand.
Stark totally fucked him over, and the same happened with Beck, and everyone that works with Beck. But the film never confronts this and only uses it as character motivation. Peter Parker shouldn't be picking up Tony Stark's messes as Iron Man's replacement. He should be doing this as Spider-Man. Spider-Man's greatest moments come from his compassion and willingness to understand. The film never confronts Tony Stark as the catalyst for everything wrong happening because the film's protagonist never confronts the legacy of Tony Stark, thus making it seem like the film is saying that every action taken by Tony Stark, including creating Edith and giving it to Peter Parker, is perfectly okay. In fact, almost hilariously, Quentin Beck, the antagonist of the film, is the only character in the film that truly seems to grasp how dangerous the Edith glasses really are.
Edith was being handed over not to us, not to the Defense Department, but to a child.
Peter doesn't even destroy the glasses or destroy Edith. You've gotta be kidding me. But from all I've talked about, we can't ignore the fact that this film is called Spider-Man. And it being called Spider-Man Far From Home is a major reason as to why a good amount of people dislike the film. And again, remember, it's perfectly okay to like and dislike a film. So, you know what this means.
Hey, it's me, your old pal HiTop Films. Now, can I tell you a secret? But you have to promise not to get mad. Okay, you ready? Spider-Man stories are dramas. They aren't action epics. They can have elements of action. They aren't mysteries. They can have elements of mystery. They aren't ultra-depressing tragedies, but they can have elements of tragedy. They aren't comedies, but they can have elements of comedy. But when you boil down Ditko and Lee, Sale and Lowe, Bagley and Bendis, Zek and Nemenis, Romita Jr. and Straczynski, Raimi and Maguire, Webb and Garfield, and the thousands of creators that have spun stories for the beloved webhead, they are all, in their own way, dramas. Dramas with fantastical characters that feel utterly human. Can I tell you an opinion? But you have to promise not to get mad. Far From Home isn't a drama. It's a lightweight teen comedy with small, minuscule elements of human drama. That's why it fails as a Spider-Man story, and that's why you have idiots like me screaming that it's a bad Spider-Man movie. Far From Home seems like it tries its damnedest to avoid drama, drama. Can you tell me who this Ned is, other than Peter's goofy friend? Can you tell me who this Betty Brant is, other than Peter's goofy friend's girlfriend? Can you tell me who this Flash Thompson is? How about MJ? Michelle? Can you tell me who Michelle Jones is? Genuinely. To understand who a character is, you must know what they want, you must know what they are afraid of, and you must know why they are afraid of that. I know none of these things about MJ. Mary Jane Watson from the comics, from the cartoons, from the other films wants to be loved. She is afraid of being vulnerable. She's afraid she will open up, show her true self, and the world will not love her. They will reject her. She is afraid of that because the man who was supposed to love her more than anyone abused her. There's a deleted scene in Homecoming where Michelle Jones's parents don't pick her up after she almost dies. This was cut from the movie. Aunt May from the comics, from the cartoons, from the other films wants to protect Peter, and Peter wants to protect her. She is afraid of losing her son. She is afraid of that because she lost the love of her life. In Far From Home, Aunt May supports her teenage son getting shot at night after night. She has no issues with what he does. There is no drama. Homecoming set up that drama and did it really well, but that was forgotten about. Aunt May is now just Happy Hogan's fuck buddy.
Happy birthday. You need it more than I do.
No, I can't take that.
Yes, you can. For God's sake, it's not much. Now take it.
Who doesn't know how to make ends meet, who has to take nursing classes with 22-year-old kids so I can pay for you to go to college, and I don't know how to do this without Ben.
Summer fling.
Yes, that evolves and grows like any other, open to wherever it might lead.
Anywhere.
There's some implied parental neglect with Flash Thompson. This is implied. These supporting characters aren't characters, they are simplistic caricatures. Spider-Man has never settled for simplistic caricatures. Spider-Man isn't Spider-Man without Uncle Ben. I don't care what you say or how you say it, but Spider-Man is Spider-Man because of Ben Parker. Far From Home avoids Ben Parker like I avoid Far From Home. Spider-Man cares about the little guy. Even this Spider-Man says it.
Somebody's gotta look out for the little guy, right?
But does he mean it? Vulture, Mysterio, they are the little guys who got screwed by the big guy. This Spider-Man cares more about impressing that big guy. Peter Parker has never cared about being on a football team unless it was to impress a girl or earn some cash. All this Peter Parker cares about is living up to the retired quarterback of the football team. Picture this. You're a kid who is different, who gets picked on. You would give anything to feel powerful. You would give anything to have great power. The Legend of Spider-Man is about learning that that power doesn't make you special. It doesn't give you a free pass. In fact, it makes your life more difficult. The more of that power you get, the more responsibility you have to your fellow man. And the only person who can learn that lesson is you. Through your failures, through your hardships, through your loves lost and loves gained, you spin your own web, and there's no man or Iron Man there to guide you. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Spider-Man is a story about becoming a good man through becoming a Spider-Man. Kids like myself learn that lesson from reading, from watching. Every dollar Peter didn't have was a dollar that we didn't have. Every grand mistake he made was a wake-up call that we need to fix all the small mistakes we have made. My fear is the lesson kids will gain from this Spider-Man is that if you idolize a billionaire just long enough, you'll be able to punch the people who were fucked over by that billionaire, and his bodyguard will start fucking your mom. This will give you the validation you so desperately desire. Spider-Man is a tale about growing up, so why can't these films be more grown up? Spider-Man isn't a Disney Channel original. Spider-Man is perks of being a wall crawler. Spider-Man isn't two-dimensional, so why can't these films have dimension? These films are called Spider-Man, but why can't I see him anywhere? Spider-Man will constantly evolve and change, like every tale, every legend. That doesn't mean you have to like what the MCU is changing him into. Can I tell you the truth? But you have to promise not to get mad, okay? You ready? I don't care that you love this movie. I truly could not care less. And you should not care that I don't love this movie, because they are our feelings to have, our opinions to keep and to hold and to cherish. And that's a wonderful thing. Can I tell you goodbye? Goodbye.
Hello. So I wanted to let my creative juices flow and do something fun. So let's try to fix this scene. What I would have done with this film is have Brad not exist. Let Brad just be Flash. Flash wants MJ to fall in love with him. Since we all know that Brad won't end up with MJ, Flash definitely won't end up with MJ, and we'll play that to our advantage. Now, instead of Peter having a forced romantic rival that most definitely won't win, Flash could be played as obnoxious, weird, and kind of sad, as the character in the MCU is written. And in these attempts to win over MJ, we could get actual character moments from both him and MJ. We could break away from the character trope of douche and weird quiet girl. These two have actual personalities and backstories which aren't explored. Let's say Peter's spider sense tingles when he sees Dimitri before the bus ride. That's weird, why is it ringing for Dimitri? Well, Peter's just confused and ignores it for now. When the class stops for a bathroom break, we could get this scene.
Okay, Parker, here's the deal. You need to make sure I don't say nothing to make
MJ
think I'm stupid. Dude, ship say like smartness, integrity and stuff.
Peter uses the Edith glasses for the first time and scans the kids on the bus, and then Peter remembers his spider sense tingle from earlier. So here's the thing, there's this wonkily written plot in this film about Peter's lack of trust in the spider sense, which only comes up in the beginning and the end of the film. So Dimitri being revealed as a potential villain could put greater emphasis on this storyline, which becomes again essential at the end of the film. The reason his spider sense is so wonky could also be tied to his lack of confidence in his ability to live up to Tony Stark. These plotlines could be easily tied together, but they're not. So Peter could say, oh wait a second Edith, target Dimitri, as he wants to scan Dimitri.
Initiating strike.
Initiating what now?
So Edith launches a drone to kill Dimitri, who's in the bus. Peter can say, no, I don't kill people, further showcasing the moral differences between Peter and Stark, and Flash can just be bothering Peter here and checking out his glasses out of jealousy that Peter looks cool or something like that. Now, the bus could actually be in danger. Could Dimitri just be an ex-criminal that Fury has hired, or is he still a criminal? And holy crap, the missile. Peter can still knock out Flash and then cancel the drone remotely, but let's not have Flash just get punched for no reason. Now, Flash uses this punch to vilify Peter even more, and remains angry at him for the remainder of the film. Now later on in the third act of the film, Brad yelling about how he has a picture of Peter undressing could be replaced with Flash whining about where Peter is and claiming that he punched him. Peter now, having almost killed his friends, decides to completely ignore his spider senses for now, almost mentally blocking them, further reinforcing the reason as to why Spider-Man can't detect Mysterio or his illusions. Similar to Spider-Man 2, when Peter gives up his powers, if you think about it. Dimitri can be shown to be working with Beck later on in this restaurant scene, maybe he's the chameleon or some shit, I don't know. Dimitri being confirmed a villain could be revealed in the final act, confirming Peter's suspicions and giving a better reason for this drone strike bus scene to exist. Peter could also use this as another reason as to why he should put faith into his spider sense. In the final act, Peter as Spider-Man could actively be saving students from his trip instead of this scene.
I'm in love with Spider-Man's aunt.
Spider-Man could save Flash, and it'd be a bittersweet moment where Flash idolizes Spider-Man, but absolutely loathes Peter now, and this could culminate in the third film somehow, where now Spider-Man's secret identity is revealed to the world. So yeah, that's how I'd fix a good portion of this movie. I think at the end of the day, Spider-Man Far From Home is great action and great acting, sure, but the film never really captivates me in any way. I genuinely enjoy most of the third act, but just because I enjoy the third act doesn't mean I'm going to ignore the first and second act. The film falls into the trap a lot of Marvel movies fall in, that they don't have anything substantial to say, or maybe they do, but they never fully explore it. I reminisce about Spider-Man films, shows, and comics, how they make me feel powerful with being who I am, how they teach me to do what's right, even if it means sacrificing my own desires for the betterment of others. How sometimes what I want isn't what I need. I remember Spider-Man films that confront the ideologies of those we admire and aspire to be, how even in the pursuit of what's right, we can do the wrong thing, how we all have a responsibility to not just ourselves, but to each other. That's not really Spider-Man Far From Home to me, and those, I believe, are its fundamental flaws.
One last thing I want to say about Spider-Man in general, and this might trigger some people, but I'm gonna say it anyway. To be a true Spider-Man fan doesn't mean you have to love every incarnation. Also, if this video of me critiquing a movie offended you in any way, then maybe reevaluate yourself a bit. It's like, for example, I don't like pineapple on pizza. You could say I hate pineapple on pizza. I think it's really gross. But I know people who love pineapple on pizza. My parents love pineapple on pizza. And I will clown them for it. I'll be like, that's disgusting. Are you insane? But I'll never hate them for it. And it's not like I'm gonna stop respecting them for having an opinion that differs from mine. Because you know what that'd make me? That'd make me an idiot.
I want to thank Alex from HiTop Films for biting the bullet and stepping back into the Spider-Man discourse for this video. Definitely check out his channel, it's absolutely fantastic, link in the description. Now if you didn't know, I'm making an animated series. Yeah, some of it is playing on the left right now, so if you're into anime, definitely check out the trailer, link in the description as well. Lastly, thank you so much patrons, they get videos early and they support me a ton, so massive thanks y'all, and thanks so much Chads also for watching the video. If you don't know what a Chad is, well, a Chad is a super cool person that loves pickles and cucumbers. Actually vegetables, all vegetables, why not, sure. So thanks for coming to the table, and I hope to see you all next time.